My therapist told me to write a letter I'll never send. I did. But then I sent it, and now the person who ruined my life wants to meet for coffee. I'm 27, and lately, I feel like I've become the villain in my own family. All because I finally said, no to babysitting. No to sacrificing my life so my brother and his wife can chase theirs. It all started when my brother, Sam, and his wife, Jessica, moved to my city last year. Jessica got a big job offer here, one she couldn't possibly turn down. I was happy for them, genuinely. I've lived here for 6 years, working remotely as a software developer. My schedule's flexible, my apartment's quiet, and life was, well, pretty comfortable. When they first arrived, they'd asked me to watch their son, Ethan, who's 5. Just every now and then, maybe once every couple of weeks. No problem. He was a calm kid. Played with his toys, watched cartoons while I worked. I didn't even like kids that much, but Ethan was easy. Back then, it felt like I was doing them a small favor to help them get settled. Sam also worked from home at the time, so it made sense. He'd handle Ethan most days while Jessica was at her office job. They had a good system. I was just the backup plan. My girlfriend, Mia, and I were still living the life we wanted, traveling often, exploring new places, making memories. That was our thing. But about 8 months ago, everything flipped upside down. Sam came over one morning, grinning like a kid on Christmas, and said, "I finally did it, man. I'm switching careers." He'd always dreamed of working in architecture and had just landed an entry-level position at a local firm. I was genuinely proud of him. Sure, it came with a 40% pay cut and meant going into the office full-time, but he was chasing his passion. I congratulated him, told him I was happy for him. What he didn't mention was that his new dream job was about to become my full-time nightmare. Within 2 weeks, Jessica called and asked if I could watch Ethan for just a few hours. Then it became 2 days that week. Then 3. Then 4. Before I even realized it, I was watching Ethan 3 or 4 days a week for up to 8 hours a day. My productivity tanked. I missed meetings. Deadlines piled up. My boss started noticing. And Ethan, sweet little Ethan, transformed. He started screaming, running laps around my apartment during Zoom calls, interrupting me for snacks every 15 minutes, breaking my stuff. He smashed 2 of my collectible figurines, ones I'd had since college. Every time I tried to set boundaries, he'd scream and cry until I caved. I brought it up with Sam twice. The first time, he apologized, promised to talk to Ethan. Nothing changed. The second time, he got defensive. "He's just being a kid," he said. "You need to have more patience." Right. Easy for him to say when he's not the one with a 5-year-old howling behind him during client calls. Jessica tried to help by bringing bags of noisy toys to keep him busy. Which only meant more noise, more chaos. Then came the moment that broke me. 3 weeks ago, Jessica came to pick up Ethan after I'd been watching him for 9 hours straight. I was exhausted, just counting the minutes until I could finally relax. Instead, she walked in, looked around my apartment, and started inspecting it. She ran her hand along my glass coffee table and said, "You should really get rid of this, Ethan could hurt himself." Then she pointed at my bookshelves. "Those should be bolted to the wall." Then she eyed my art collection and said I should put it all away somewhere, safe. I just stood there, blinking, trying to figure out if she was serious. And then, oh, she wasn't done. She smiled and said, "We'll probably need to baby-proof your place soon. We're planning for another one this year, a girl. So, you'll be watching 2 instead of 1. I swear, my brain froze. My apartment, my sanctuary, was being treated like a daycare. Fast forward to last week. Mia and I were sitting on our balcony, finally relaxing, planning our next trip. We hadn't been able to travel for months because of this non-stop babysitting, and we missed it. I promised her a 2-week trip to Thailand for Valentine's Day. We were so excited, looking up hotels, building an itinerary. And then, Sam and Jessica showed up. Unannounced. With Ethan. They overheard the word Thailand, and instantly, I could feel the tension shift. Sam's face darkened. Jessica crossed her arms like she was about to scold a teenager. Ethan ran off to his toys, and Sam asked, "So, who's watching Ethan while you're gone for 2 weeks?" Before I could answer, Jessica cut in. "You need to stop with these childish vacations and start taking responsibility as an uncle." That was it. I lost it. I told them, calmly at first, that Ethan wasn't my child. That I wasn't going to put my life on hold because they couldn't find proper childcare. I reminded them that I never agreed to be their full-time babysitter and that Ethan's behavior had made it impossible for me to work. Sam called me selfish. Jessica said I had no sense of family duty. I snapped back that family duty didn't mean being taken advantage of. And if they couldn't afford childcare after Sam's career change, maybe they should have thought that through before making the switch. Things went downhill fast after that. Jessica cried. Sam yelled. I yelled back. By the end, I was shaking with anger while they stormed out with Ethan. Later that night, Sam texted me. "I'm disappointed in you. I never thought you'd turn your back on family." The next morning, the phone started ringing. My dad called first, said I should be ashamed of myself. My mom said family comes first and that Thailand could wait. Jessica's mom sent me a long text accusing me of hurting her daughter and tearing the family apart. I stopped answering. Turned off notifications. Sat there in the quiet, feeling this awful mix of guilt and rage twisting in my chest. Mia keeps telling me I did the right thing, but I still lie awake at night, staring at the ceiling, wondering if maybe I really am the bad guy here. So tell me, am I the one in the wrong for refusing to keep being their unpaid babysitter and choosing my own life instead? It's been 3 weeks since I posted my story, and let me tell you, things have spiraled. First, I want to thank everyone who commented. Seriously. Reading through your replies made me realize I wasn't losing my mind, I was being used. A lot of you pointed out something I've been avoiding for years, that my brother, Sam, has always been the golden child. And man, that hit hard. Looking back, that's probably why I moved across the country for college and never looked back after graduation. It wasn't just about chasing opportunity, it was about getting away from the constant comparison, the quiet pressure to be like Sam. Before I get into what happened next, let me give you a little context that I didn't mention before. The city I live in? It's expensive. Like, pay your rent and sell a kidney, expensive. When Sam and Jessica decided to move here, they barely planned financially. They figured that with both their incomes, they'd be fine. And they were, until Sam decided to switch careers and take a 40% pay cut. I only found out after my original post that their finances are a complete mess. Their apartment costs way more than they can afford. 2 car payments. Jessica's student loans. Credit cards maxed out. They've basically been treading water for months. Now, that doesn't excuse how they treated me, not even close, but it definitely explains why they were so desperate. Our family background plays a big role in all this too. My parents immigrated from Brazil when Sam was 7 and I was just a baby. They worked themselves to the bone, 2, sometimes 3 jobs each, just to keep food on the table. Sam, being older, often had to watch me after school. To my parents, that means he helped raise me. So now, apparently, I'm supposed to return the favor by helping raise his kid. It's like this never-ending chain of obligation. They call it family duty. I call it emotional blackmail with better branding. Anyway, after cooling off and rereading your advice 100 times, I decided to try one more civil conversation. I figured maybe if we met in neutral territory, no kids, no toys flying around, we could actually talk like adults. So I texted Sam and Jessica, asked to meet at a coffee shop near their apartment. When they arrived, things started, okay. I opened by apologizing, not for my boundaries, but for how harsh I was during the argument. I admitted that calling Ethan a nightmare was unfair. I told them I understood parenting was hard and that I could have communicated my frustrations better. Sam nodded. He actually looked relieved. He said he appreciated me owning up to it and that he realized they had been asking a lot of me. For a brief second, I thought, maybe this is the turning point. Maybe we're finally on the same page. And then Jessica opened her mouth. She smiled politely and said, I appreciate your apology, but I don't think you really understand what it's like raising a child in a city this expensive. I was about to respond when she added, our parents told us to lean on you more, not less. They said you're single, carefree, and it's time you took on some family responsibility. I swear, I almost laughed out loud. Single and carefree? I've been with Mia for 5 years. And I guess working full-time while being emotionally steamrolled doesn't count as responsibility. That's when it hit me, this wasn't just about Sam and Jessica. My parents had been feeding this idea, encouraging them to rely on me. And apparently, Jessica's parents joined the chorus too. They told her that since I work from home and make good money, I should be happy to help out. Happy to be unpaid childcare. I told them, calmly, at first, how draining the past few months had been. How my work performance had dropped. How Mia and I canceled 3 trips. How constantly being on call for their kid had wrecked my routine, my focus, and honestly, my peace of mind. I said I loved them and Ethan, but I couldn't keep doing it. They needed to find proper childcare. Jessica leaned back in her chair and, without missing a beat, said, well, if you're refusing to help, then the least you can do is pay for Ethan's daycare. You can afford it. You fly around the world every month. I just stared at her. I think my jaw actually dropped. She said it like she was asking me to pass the salt, like it was the most reasonable thing in the world. I didn't say a word. Didn't argue. Didn't even look at Sam. I just stood up, grabbed my keys, and walked out of the coffee shop. By the time I reached my car, my phone was buzzing like crazy, texts from Sam. By the time I got home, there were even more, from my parents, Jessica's parents, even my dad calling me heartless. My mom said I should be ashamed. Jessica's mom accused me of making her daughter cry again. I turned my phone on Do Not Disturb and didn't answer a single one. Instead, I did something I should have done months ago. I confirmed my Thailand trip with Mia. Booked the flights, the hotels, everything. Then I met with my boss to discuss how to get my projects back on track. Over the weekend, I rearranged my apartment, put my shelves and collectibles back the way they were before Ethan's chaos invaded my space. It finally felt like my home again. Some of you suggested going no contact with my family. I wasn't ready for that before. But now, I'm not so sure. Because this whole situation made me realize something painful, my family doesn't actually see me as an individual with a life, goals, and boundaries. They see me as a resource. A convenience. A wallet with Wi-Fi. So yeah, for now, I'm keeping my distance. Focusing on fixing my work, enjoying my relationship, and remembering that saying no doesn't make me selfish. But I'd be lying if I said it doesn't hurt. Tell me, am I really making the right call here? Has anyone else dealt with family who only shows up when they need something, and disappears the moment you start saying no? It's been about 2 months since my last update, and honestly, I needed every single day of that time just to process what's happened. When I first posted, I thought the situation had already hit rock bottom, but turns out, I had no idea how deep this thing could go. After that explosive fallout with my family, Mia and I went ahead with our Thailand trip. And it was everything we needed. 2 full weeks of freedom, beaches that looked like postcards, temples glowing at sunrise, street food that made me forget what stress even felt like. I left my phone on airplane mode most of the time, only checking work emails when absolutely necessary. For the first time in months, I could actually breathe without feeling like someone was waiting for me to do the right thing for everyone but myself. But when we got back, reality was waiting for me at my door. There were dozens of missed calls, text messages, voicemails, all echoing the same theme, that I was selfish, irresponsible, and had abandoned my family in their time of need. My mother left one voicemail that I couldn't even finish listening to. She said she'd failed as a parent if this was how I treated family. That one stung. I deleted the rest without finishing them. But what really caught me off guard wasn't a call or a text. It was a letter. A handwritten one. Taped right to my apartment door. It was from Sam. And the tone was nothing like the angry messages I'd gotten before. His handwriting was messy, rushed, but the words were humble. He apologized. He admitted he'd taken advantage of me. Said he hadn't respected my time or boundaries. He went on to explain that after our coffee shop argument, he and Jessica had a long, hard conversation about their finances and their future. He'd taken on a second job, working evenings and weekends at a home improvement store. They'd also found a daycare that charged based on income. And, this part genuinely floored me, he said he'd confronted our parents. Told them to stop guilting me, that I wasn't responsible for their mess, and that he needed to stand on his own 2 feet. I sat on my couch rereading that letter over and over, not sure whether to believe it or not. It felt too good to be true after months of guilt trips and manipulation. So I decided to wait. Give it time. See if it was real or just another ploy to pull me back in. 4 days later, I got a text from an unknown number. It was one of Sam's coworkers from the design firm. Sam had collapsed at work. They'd taken him to the hospital. The doctor thought it might be exhaustion, possibly stress-related complications. My heart dropped. I didn't even think, I just grabbed my keys and drove straight there. When I walked into the hospital room, Jessica was sitting in a chair beside Sam's bed. Ethan was curled up on the floor next to her, uncharacteristically quiet, fiddling with a toy car. Jessica looked wrecked. Hair unwashed, dark circles under her eyes, wearing what was clearly yesterday's clothes. She didn't look angry. Just defeated. While Sam slept, Jessica told me everything that had happened since I last saw them. Sam had been working full-time at the firm, about 45 hours a week, plus an additional 20 hours at the home improvement store. Jessica had started picking up extra shifts at her own job. They were basically 2 exhausted ships passing each other in the night, handing Ethan off like a baton between work shifts. The daycare had helped a little, but not enough to ease the financial strain. And then came the part that hit me harder than I expected. My parents, and even Jessica's, had cut them off. Apparently, when Sam told my parents to stop pressuring me, my dad told him to man up and take responsibility. Jessica's parents weren't any better. They told her they should move back to Nebraska if they couldn't handle life in the city. Sam had stood up for me, and in return, they'd abandoned him. The next day, Sam was discharged with doctor's orders to rest and reduce stress, which, honestly, sounded like the medical equivalent of good luck. I drove them home, and when we got to their apartment, I barely recognized it. Piles of laundry. Dishes stacked in the sink. Toys scattered everywhere. The place just felt heavy, like exhaustion had soaked into the walls. Jessica looked so embarrassed as she apologized for the mess, but I didn't care about that. I just wanted to help. So while Sam rested, I rolled up my sleeves and started cleaning. Somewhere between folding laundry and taking out the trash, Jessica opened up. She told me they were drowning, financially, emotionally, everything. That the move to this city, the cost of living, the stress, it had all snowballed into something they couldn't control. And then she apologized. For everything. For the guilt trips, for demanding money, for treating me like a resource instead of a brother. She said she'd been desperate, and that she'd been listening to too many voices telling her what to expect from me. But the thing that surprised me most, she admitted she resented Sam for changing careers. She'd supported it because she wanted him to be happy, but the financial fallout had destroyed their stability, and her frustration had spilled over onto everyone, including me. By the time I left, I didn't know what to feel. I was still hurt, still cautious, but seeing them like that, stripped of all the entitlement and pride, made me realize how bad things had really gotten. That night, I talked it through with Mia. And together, we decided on something in between full forgiveness and total distance. I wouldn't babysit again. I wouldn't hand them money. But I would help them find resources, better childcare programs, budgeting tools, maybe even local community help. I'd offer guidance, not servitude. I'm still keeping my boundaries firm, but I'm not cutting them off completely either. Because now, it's not about revenge or resentment. It's about figuring out how to care without losing myself in the process. I'll post another update when things progress, but for now, I'm trying to find balance, helping my brother's family in a way that doesn't cost me my peace. It's been about a month since my last update, and honestly, I think this will be the last time I talk about this situation. Not because everything's magically perfect, but because, for the first time in a long while, things actually feel stable. Balanced. Manageable. After Sam's health scare, I realized I wanted to help, but in a way that wouldn't pull me back into being the family doormat. So instead of money or babysitting, I hired a financial advisor for them as a one-time gift. Nothing ongoing, no strings attached. Just a professional who could give them real, objective guidance. The advisor met with them 3 times. 3 brutally honest sessions that stripped away all the illusions. And wow, it was a wake-up call. They learned they'd been overspending in nearly every area: rent, cars, credit cards, groceries. The advisor didn't mince words. He told them flat out, "You're living like you earn double what you do." And to their credit, Sam and Jessica didn't get defensive. They listened. They made changes. Big ones. They broke their lease and moved into a smaller, cheaper apartment in a different neighborhood. They sold one of their cars and started using public transit. They set a strict grocery budget and stuck to it. And, maybe the biggest win, they found a family-run daycare that costs half what they were paying before. Sam scaled back his second job to just one evening and one weekend shift. You could see the difference in him within weeks. He looked rested for the first time in months. Jessica's job allowed her to work remotely twice a week, which helped cut down childcare costs even more. They're still tight on money, but the chaos is gone. There's a plan now. Structure. Hope. As for our relationship, it's changed. In a good way. We've set clear, solid boundaries, and this time, everyone's respecting them. I agreed to babysit Ethan one Saturday a month so they can have a date night or catch up on rest. That's it. One day. And you know what? It works. It's planned in advance, I don't feel trapped, and Ethan has calmed down so much. He's sweet again. Happy. You can tell his parents being less stressed has done wonders for him. But the biggest shock came from my parents. After weeks of silence, I finally called my mom. I was nervous, but I needed to hear her side. At first, the conversation went exactly how I expected, her telling me I should be doing more for Sam, that family always helps family, and so on. But then, she broke down. Through tears, she admitted something I never knew. She and my dad had been sending Sam money every month, until he stood up for me. That's when they cut him off. And suddenly, everything made sense. Their anger toward me wasn't just about babysitting, it was guilt. They were projecting. They had stopped helping Sam financially but wanted to believe someone else was still stepping in. That someone was supposed to be me. In their minds, if I picked up where they left off, they could stop feeling guilty. That realization changed everything for me. I stopped seeing their criticism as malice and started seeing it for what it really was, misplaced guilt and years of enabling Sam's dependence. We've had several long, emotional talks since then. We don't agree on everything, but we understand each other better now. They've even started to see that my lifestyle, the travel, the independence, the focus on balance, isn't selfish. It's just different from theirs. And that's okay. Jessica's parents, on the other hand, are still stuck in the family means sacrifice everything mindset. That's been a sore spot for her, and she's still learning to stand up to them. But she's trying. Meanwhile, life for Mia and me has finally gone back to normal, or maybe even better than before. We've resumed our travel schedule, with a small adjustment for my monthly babysitting shift. We just got back from a week in Mexico, and we're planning Portugal later this year. Works great, too. With my focus back, I hit all my goals, and my boss rewarded me with a promotion last month. If there's one thing I've learned through all this, it's that helping family doesn't mean losing yourself in the process. You can care deeply and still say no. You can love someone without rescuing them from the consequences of their own choices. Boundaries aren't walls, they're fences with gates. You can open them when you want, but you decide who comes in, and for how long. Sam and Jessica needed to hit bottom to realize they couldn't rely on me, or anyone else, to fix their lives. And once they did, they finally started rebuilding in a way that's real and sustainable. I don't regret standing my ground, even if I wish I'd done it earlier and calmer. Next time, and there probably will be a next time, because family never stops being family, I'll speak up before things reach a breaking point. For now, though, we found our rhythm. One that respects everyone's limits. And maybe, just maybe, that's what real family looks like, not blind sacrifice, but growth, accountability, and a little hard-earned peace. Thanks to everyone who followed along and offered advice. It's been a long road, but I'm finally in a place where I can say this with confidence, I'm okay. We're all okay. And that feels pretty damn good. I'm 28, and a few months ago, I never imagined I'd be here, sitting alone on the couch, a single mom, staring at the spot where my husband used to hang his jacket every night. And all of it, every heartbreaking step that led here, started because of a party. Not just any party, though. My in-laws' perfect, over-the-top, must impress everyone we know, graduation bash for my husband's little sister, Julia. The beginning. Anthony and I have known each other since college. We met when he was carrying a mountain of textbooks taller than him across the bookstore floor, trying not to trip. He looked so determined, and so hopelessly clumsy, that I offered to help. We ended up talking for hours after our shift ended, and that was it for me. We didn't have much back then. Between my dad's teacher salary and my mom's part-time bakery job, money was tight growing up. Anthony's parents ran a small plumbing business and worked hospital shifts, so he understood the grind too. Back in college, we survived off instant noodles and late-night coffee. Date nights meant splitting a $5 pizza on the roof of my apartment building, watching the stars and pretending the world wasn't so heavy. After graduation, life was tough. We got married young, scraped by on entry-level salaries, and lived in a shoebox apartment that barely fit our bed. We celebrated the little things, like when the fridge stopped making that weird noise or when we could afford takeout once a month. We didn't have much, but we had each other. Things start looking up. Fast forward a few years, our luck finally turned. Anthony worked like a man possessed, taking on every extra project he could. When he finally got promoted to senior account manager, I cried. Around the same time, I got a marketing coordinator job at a tech startup that actually paid well. For the first time in forever, we could breathe. We bought a modest 3-bedroom house, nothing fancy, but it was ours. The kind of place with a creaky porch swing and a yard big enough for our daughter Amy to run around in. I'll never forget that night. Anthony carried me over the threshold, grinning like we'd just won the lottery. We sat on that porch swing, watching the sunset, feeling unstoppable. We started saving, carefully, consistently. A college fund for Amy. An emergency fund for us. The kind of security we'd never had growing up. And then came the dinner. The $2,000 request. Anthony's parents invited us over one Sunday to celebrate Julia's big news. She'd graduated high school and gotten into an Ivy League university. We were thrilled for her. She's a sweet kid, bright and ambitious, and she deserved to be celebrated. Dinner was going great, until Anthony's mom casually dropped it. "We're throwing a huge party for Julia," she said. "The ballroom at the Grand Regency, a DJ, catering, everything. Oh, and we'd like you two to contribute $2,000. I swear, I almost choked on my drink. They said it like it was nothing. Like everyone had $2,000 just lying around, waiting to be spent on centerpieces and shrimp cocktails. Anthony and I just stared at each other. We just bought our house. We had a mortgage, bills, childcare, the works. That kind of money wasn't pocket change. I tried to be polite. "We're so proud of Julia," I said, "but $2,000 is a bit out of our budget right now. Maybe I could help plan or decorate instead." That's when his mom's smile vanished. "I thought you two were doing well now," she said sharply. "You have that big house, those good jobs. Don't you want Julia to have a special day? You're part of this family too." Then his dad piled on. "When we were your age, we helped our family. We didn't think twice about it." I'm disappointed. I sat there stunned. We'd helped them countless times, babysitting Julia and her brother, doing their taxes, running errands. But apparently, none of that counted unless there was a check attached. The rest of the meal was tense. Anthony barely said a word, just pushing his food around his plate. On the drive home, he finally spoke. "Maybe we could find a way," he said quietly. "We could cut back for a few months." I just stared at him. "Anthony, we have cut back. We've been saving for Amy, for emergencies, for our future. We can't throw $2,000 at a party." He sighed. "I know, but it's Julia. She's worked hard. It would mean a lot to my parents." That's when I realized, this wasn't really about the money. It was about loyalty. About him still being the good son, no matter what it cost. The fallout. The next day, Julia called Anthony in tears. Apparently, his parents had told her everything, how we refused to help. She said we were jealous of her success, that we never treated her like real family. Anthony was gutted. Hearing his little sister cry broke something in him. He started second-guessing everything, saying maybe we were being too harsh. Meanwhile, I was just exhausted. How did we go from building a future together to fighting over a party that wasn't even ours? Anthony's parents started calling daily, alternating between guilt trips and anger. His mom said I was turning him against his family. His dad said I was selfish and cold. And little by little, I watched my husband start to agree with them. He stopped talking to me about money decisions. Started defending them more. "They just want to celebrate Julia," he'd say. "Why do you always make things difficult?" Soon, he wasn't just on their side, he was against me. The breaking point. The day everything fell apart started like any other. I came home from work to find Anthony sitting at the table with his laptop open and our savings account on the screen. He transferred $2,000 to his parents. Without telling me. I froze. "Anthony, what did you do?" He didn't even look up. "It's done. I wasn't going to let you embarrass my family." That sentence, those exact words, broke something in me. I wasn't his partner anymore. I was the obstacle between him and his parents' approval. The argument that followed was the worst one we'd ever had. There was yelling, tears, words I can't take back. When it was over, I packed a bag for Amy and me. I didn't even know where I was going, just that I couldn't stay there anymore. Now. It's been 3 months since that night. I filed for separation. Anthony still sees Amy on weekends, but things between us are strained. He says he regrets how it all happened, but he doesn't regret helping his family. His parents haven't spoken to me since. I'm rebuilding. Slowly. I got my own apartment, small, but cozy. I'm back to living frugally, saving for Amy's future one paycheck at a time. And sometimes, when I sit on the couch after she's gone to bed, I think about those nights on the rooftop with a $5 pizza and stars overhead, when love was simple and we dreamed about the future. I never thought this would be how it turned out. But if there's one thing I've learned, it's this: love can't survive where respect doesn't exist. Anthony chose his family's expectations over our partnership, and that choice cost us everything. So yeah, all because of a $2,000 party, I lost my marriage. But I'm gaining something else: peace. And for now, that's worth more than any ballroom celebration in the world. It's been a week since my last post, and honestly, things have gone from bad to worse. I wish I could say that Anthony and I were finding common ground, but instead, it feels like we're standing on opposite sides of a widening crack, and every argument makes it deeper. The breaking point. A few days ago, I came home early from work, earlier than Anthony expected, and walked in to hear his voice coming from the kitchen. At first, I thought he was just chatting with a friend, but then I heard the words that made my stomach twist. "Don't worry, Mom. We'll find a way. You'll have the full $2,000 before the party." I froze in the doorway. When he hung up and turned around, his face went pale. He knew immediately that I'd heard. I asked, as calmly as I could manage, "What did you just promise?" He rubbed his forehead, sighing like he was the one under attack. I couldn't stand hearing how disappointed she was. It's Julia's big day, and I don't want to let them down. That turned into a fight that lasted for hours, voices raised, tears shed, neither of us backing down. I reminded him of our plans, the mortgage, Amy's savings, the emergency fund we'd fought so hard to build. But Anthony kept saying, family comes first. What about our family? Apparently, that didn't count. The betrayal. The next day, something felt off. I couldn't shake the gut feeling that there was more going on than he was admitting. So I checked our joint savings account. And there it was, a $1,000 withdrawal. No discussion. No warning. Just, gone. I confronted him that evening, and he didn't even deny it. He said, I have as much right to that money as you do. I'm tired of you controlling everything. Controlling? I handle our finances because I'm the one who keeps us afloat, the one who makes sure Amy's future is secure. And now, half our emergency fund had been drained for a single night of music and champagne. I wasn't just angry. I was heartbroken. This wasn't about the money anymore. It was about trust. If he could do this once, what would stop him from doing it again? The party. The party happened last weekend. It was everything Anthony's parents had bragged about, and worse. They rented out the grand ballroom at the fanciest hotel in town. There was an actual red carpet at the entrance, flashing lights, a professional photographer snapping pictures like it was the Oscars. They even got a local TV news anchor and a retired NFL player, both alumni from Julia's new university, to attend. Julia looked stunning in a glittering designer dress that easily cost more than our mortgage payment. She was radiant, basking in the attention, and honestly, I was happy for her. I really was. But every smile, every toast, every dollar that went into that party made my chest ache. Because all I could think was, that's our savings. That's Amy's future. Anthony and I showed up, trying to keep the peace. But from the moment we walked in, I could feel the tension. His mom's smile was tight, her tone dripping with sugar-coated venom. It's so nice of you both to come, she said loudly, just enough for the nearby guests to hear. Not everyone was willing to go all out for Julia, but we did what we could. I could feel my face burning. Later, Anthony's dad gave a speech thanking everyone who made this incredible night possible, naming every relative who chipped in, one by one, except us. The silence that followed our absence in that list felt louder than applause. Julia barely looked at us all night. When she did, her expression said it all, cold, distant, resentful. I guess her parents had filled her head with stories about how we'd almost ruined her big night. I wanted to leave, but Anthony insisted we stay, for appearances. He laughed too loudly at his parents' jokes, forced smiles, tried to fit in, and looked miserable doing it. I barely recognized him. The secret credit card. When we got home, I finally broke down. I told Anthony how hurt and humiliated I felt, not just by his family's behavior, but by his silence. He hadn't defended me once. He called me dramatic. Told me I was making everything about myself. Said family events like this were important and that I needed to stop creating conflict. I asked him, point blank, why Julia's party mattered more than our daughter's security. He didn't have an answer. He just accused me of trying to separate him from his family. And then, a few days later, I found it. While sorting through the mail, there was an envelope addressed to Anthony, a credit card statement from a bank we didn't use. My heart sank. I opened it. He had applied for a new credit card without telling me, and maxed it out. The balance? $1,042. The exact amount needed to finish off his $2,000 promise. When I confronted him, he broke down. He said he felt trapped. Pressured. He didn't know how to say no to his parents. He admitted he was terrified of disappointing them, terrified they'd think less of him, or worse, stop loving him. I didn't know whether to scream or cry. Because for the first time, I saw the full picture, the boy inside the man, still trying to earn his parents' approval. And that terrified me more than the debt. Where things stand. Right now, I don't know what to do. The trust between us feels shattered. Every time I look at him, I see a stranger, a man who chose his parents' approval over our family's security. I'm considering separating our finances. It feels like the only way to protect Amy and me, but part of me worries that taking that step might be the final nail in our marriage. He keeps saying he'll fix things, that he'll make it up to me, but I don't think he understands how deep this wound goes. It's not about fixing, it's about respect. I love him. God, I still love him. But love doesn't mean much when there's no trust left to build on. So here I am, lying awake at night, staring at the ceiling, wondering if our marriage can survive this. Wondering how to protect my daughter without losing myself in the process. If anyone's been through something like this, how do you move forward when your partner keeps choosing their family over yours? How do you rebuild trust when it's already been broken twice? Because right now, I'm scared that the answer might be, you don't. It's been a month since my last update, and I wish I could say things were improving, but if anything, they've become clearer. Painfully, undeniably clearer. After I found out about Anthony's secret credit card and the debt he racked up for his family's party, I spent days walking around in a fog. I'd wake up, get Amy ready, go to work, smile through meetings, and then lie awake at night replaying everything over and over. The lies. The guilt trips. The endless cycle of family first. And eventually, I realized something had to give, and that something was me constantly sacrificing my peace just to keep the illusion of a happy marriage. Drawing the line. After talking to a lawyer friend, I made the hardest but most necessary decision I've ever made. I separated our finances. I opened a bank account in my name only. I started depositing my paychecks there and took half of what was left in our joint savings, the money we'd worked so hard for, and put it in a secure account for Amy's future. It wasn't an act of revenge. It was protection. When Anthony found out, he exploded. He accused me of being dramatic, of not trusting him, of overreacting to one mistake. But it wasn't one mistake, it was a pattern. A pattern of choosing his parents' happiness over our family's stability. I told him that if he truly wanted to earn my trust back, he'd have to show me that he could make adult decisions, the kind that put his wife and daughter first. Instead, he doubled down. The family vacation. A week later, his parents announced their next family event, a luxury beach house vacation to celebrate Julia starting college. You can probably guess what came next. They expected everyone to chip in. When I reminded Anthony that we just got out of the mess from the last fiasco, he brushed me off. "It's different this time," he said. "It's a family trip, not a party." Right. Because slapping the word vacation on it somehow made it financially responsible. He kept saying things like, "We'll figure it out," and "You worry too much," like I hadn't just watched him drain our savings and rack up debt for a night of champagne toasts. I tried again, calmly, patiently, to talk about boundaries. About how we can't keep throwing money we don't have at his parents' expectations. But he just accused me of being selfish. "Family should always come first," he said. And that's when it really hit me, Amy and I aren't the family he's talking about. The ambush. Last week was my breaking point. I came home from work to find Anthony's parents sitting on our couch, uninvited, smug, and clearly ready for battle. They'd come, in their words, to talk some sense into me. For hours, they lectured me about family values, accused me of turning Anthony against them, and said I was ungrateful after everything they'd done for us. Everything they'd done for us? The guilt trips? The manipulation? The constant judgment? I tried to stay calm, to keep my composure, but the worst part wasn't even what they said. It was what Anthony didn't say. He sat there the entire time, silent. Staring at the floor. Occasionally nodding. Not once did he defend me. Not once did he say, "That's enough." It was like watching my husband dissolve right in front of me, piece by piece. Reaching my limit. After they left, I told Anthony I couldn't do this anymore. The tension, the disrespect, the constant intrusion, it was tearing me apart. I told him we needed help, professional help. Marriage counseling. Something. Anything. He refused. He said there was nothing wrong with him or his family, that I was the one with the problem. That I was making things harder than they needed to be. That was the moment I knew. His loyalty wasn't to me. It wasn't even to Amy. It was to his parents, to their control, their approval, their version of family. So I started quietly planning for what might come next. Preparing for what's next. I've met with a divorce lawyer, just to understand my options. I'm not filing yet, but I need to know what I'm up against. The lawyer walked me through everything, custody, finances, legal protections. It was surreal sitting there, talking about my marriage like it was a business deal unraveling. But the truth is, I have to be ready. For Amy. I've also started reconnecting with old friends, people I lost touch with when I got too caught up in being Anthony's wife. They've been my lifeline. Listening. Reminding me who I used to be. Who I still am. And at night, after Amy's asleep, I just sit and think. About what kind of example I'm setting for her. About what kind of mother I want to be. Because right now, Amy's picking up on everything. She's quieter. Clingier. She doesn't understand the words, but she feels the tension. The silence. The distance. And that terrifies me. Where I am now. I don't want to be a single mom at 28. That's not the life I imagined when I said I do. But staying in a home filled with resentment and silence isn't the life I want for Amy, or for me. I don't know yet if I'll go through with the divorce, but for the first time, I'm thinking about it not as a failure, but as a possibility for freedom. Freedom from being guilt-tripped. Freedom from walking on eggshells. Freedom from begging someone to choose us. So if you've been through this, if you've had to co-parent with someone who lets their family control their life, how did you do it? How did you protect your child from the fallout? Because I'm terrified. But I'm also determined. And I know one thing for sure, I refuse to let Amy grow up believing that love means sacrificing yourself just to keep someone else comfortable. It's been 3 months since my last update, and this will probably be the last time I write about all of this. So much has changed since then. Some of it painful, some of it freeing. But all of it necessary. After months of sleepless nights, long talks with my lawyer and therapist, and too many second chances that led nowhere, I finally made the decision I'd been avoiding for too long. I filed for divorce. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. The breaking point. When I told Anthony, he looked completely blindsided, like the thought had never even crossed his mind that I might actually leave. After everything we'd been through, the lies, the financial mess, the way he let his parents treat me, he still thought I'd eventually calm down, brush it off, and pretend everything was fine. He promised to change, to stand up to them this time. But those were words I'd already heard before, after every fight, every broken boundary. I realized that promises don't mean much when they come without action. And I was done waiting for change that was never coming. The divorce. The process itself has been brutal. There's no other word for it. Anthony's family immediately went on the offensive. They started spreading rumors about me, saying I was greedy, manipulative, that I'd used Anthony and thrown him away the second life got hard. Hearing that from people I once called family cut deeper than I expected. But the worst blow was hearing that they were pushing Anthony to fight for full custody of Amy. They called me unfit, said I didn't prioritize family. The irony would almost be funny if it didn't make my stomach turn. Luckily, my lawyer is incredible. We've documented everything, the secret credit card, the money Anthony took from our savings, the unplanned withdrawals, the manipulation. I've been meticulous about keeping records, and it's given me something I haven't had in a long time, a sense of control. And through all the chaos, one truth has stayed clear, everything I've done has been to protect my daughter. The healing. In the middle of all this mess, I've started to rebuild my life. I reconnected with old friends I'd lost touch with during the years I spent isolated in Anthony's world. My college roommate, Sarah, who went through a divorce herself, has been my rock. She's the one who reminds me that this pain isn't permanent. I also started seeing a therapist. For the first time in years, I'm unpacking everything: the guilt, the resentment, the fear of being alone. Therapy has helped me focus on co-parenting strategies, setting boundaries, and managing the inevitable interactions with Anthony and his parents. And honestly, it's helped me start finding me again. Amy. Through it all, Amy has been my reason to keep going. She's adjusting better than I expected. We've kept her routine steady: same bedtime, same favorite stories, same morning pancakes on weekends. She has regular video calls with Anthony when she's with me, and when she's with him, I make sure to give her space. She's only 2, but she feels everything. So I do my best to make sure what she feels most is love and safety, not tension. Watching her laugh again, watching her sleep peacefully, it reminds me why I left. The future. It's strange, starting over at 28. Being both terrified and excited at the same time. I've started taking on freelance marketing work to supplement my income, and I'm looking into going back to school part-time for my MBA. I want to build something stable for Amy and me, something that's ours. Anthony and I are still finalizing the divorce and custody arrangements. It's tense, but we're both trying, at least on the surface, to keep things civil for Amy's sake. I'm not holding my breath for a perfect co-parenting relationship, but I'm hoping for a respectful one. For now, that's enough. Moving forward. If you followed my story from the beginning, thank you. Your messages, your advice, your empathy, they helped me see that I wasn't crazy for wanting respect. That setting boundaries doesn't make you selfish, it makes you sane. To anyone who's stuck in a situation like mine, please hear this. You are not obligated to destroy yourself in the name of family. You are allowed to walk away when love turns into manipulation. And you are absolutely allowed to choose peace, for yourself and your child. Amy and I still have a long road ahead, but for the first time in years, I feel like we're walking in the right direction. I may have lost my marriage, but I've regained my strength. And that, I think, is worth every painful step it took to get here.